Hello everyone, I'm Francesca. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am so excited because I'm giving you a really nice dish that is perfect for either the holidays, you want to make it for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, even just an easy weeknight dinner. It is really delicious. It is a baked tofu, which we put like a skin on it almost. I got this idea from Candace, the Edgy Veg, to use rice paper rolls on the outside. You'll see how we do it. And then the whole dish was inspired by something I saw on Pinterest from another food blogger, which was like a turkey with stuffing. And so I just saw that and I was like, oh, this could be really, really nice for the holidays because it's a lot easier to make than like most things. So I think you guys will really like it. And then we pair it, of course, with a delicious gravy and like stuffing, tofu, gravy, like delicious, perfect, comforting, everything you want. So I think you all will really enjoy it. As always, the full written out recipe is on my blog. There's a link in the description box down below for that, as well as all the ingredients written out, as well as links for my cookbook, social media, sign up for my newsletter, and anything that I think you might need for this recipe, I always link down below as well. I will also link some other holiday recipes down there in case you need some other inspiration. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and let's get into the recipe. Let's start this off by taking one block of super firm tofu, and I'm going to poke little holes in it with a skewer. This will just help the veggie broth that we're going to put it in to kind of like get in there quicker, give a little more flavor to the tofu. So then I'm going to use better than bouillon, and I'm going to mix that with water to make a veggie broth, hot water. You could also just use a already store-bought veggie broth, whatever you like to use, but I really like the better than bouillon because it has a lot of flavor. So just mix this up until the paste is broken down and dissolved into the water. Take a container, and then we're just going to add that in. If you're using like boiling water, hot water, make sure it's a container that's safe for that. And then we're going to add in some fresh herbs. So I have some fresh sage, rosemary, and thyme. You can also use dried herbs, whatever you have on hand. Add that block of tofu in there. We're going to let that sit for at least a half hour, but you can let it sit for over 2 hours if you want. And we're just going to flip it occasionally, and you can just let it sit out on the counter. It doesn't need to go in the fridge or anything like that. In the meantime, we will prepare our ingredients for our stuffing. So I'm going to start by chopping up one celery rib. I do not like a lot of celery in my stuffing, so literally one little piece is more than enough for me. And I'm just going to chop that up and dice it nice and small. And then we are going to cut up our onion. You should know this by now if you watch my videos. I'm very partial to a Vidalia onion, but use any onion that you like. And I'm just going to slice it up, and then I'll chop that into little pieces as well. Finally, we're going to add one leek, and I'm just going to chop off the ends and the top, cut it in half, and then give it little slices. And then you can also wash this pretty well after because sometimes there's a lot of dirt in leeks. So just give it a good rinse. Now we're going to add in a vegan butter to our pan along with all the veggies that we just chopped up. Let those saute for like 3 to 5 minutes until everything is, translucent, fragrant. Add a little bit of salt and pepper if you like. Just give that a mix and just let it saute for a few minutes. And then we're going to add in our vegetable broth. Again, I used the better than bouillon and mixed it, but you can just use store-bought vegetable broth. Once it's boiling, remove it from the heat. We're going to add in our bread cubes. I go into the bread cubes that I use in the blog post, but they're from Pepperidge Farm. Just check your ingredients, and some pecans that I kind of like really roughly chopped. And just mix this together and then set it to the side so the bread cubes can soak up that broth. Let's take our tofu out of here. I let it sit for a half hour. Do not throw away these herbs in this veggie broth. We're going to save this. Just put it to the side for a second. We're going to take our rice paper wrappers. So I have 3 that I used for this, and you're just going to dip them in water, just exactly like when you make a fresh rice paper roll. So just dip them in water, get them nice and flexible and pliable, and then you're just going to wrap them around your tofu, and that's really it. It won't be big enough to wrap around the whole block of tofu like this. That's why we're gonna need to use multiple. But yeah, just kind of like wrap it all around, get all the sides really well, and that's it. It's fairly simple to do. It's really not that big of a deal. So looks like this cute little package. So now we are just going to brush this with some oil that I mixed with paprika, salt, and pepper, just to give the rice paper some nice color and, just to make it look good on the outside and give it a lot of flavor. I used half of the oil that I made, and I go back later on, you'll see. And make sure to get all the sides, get the bottom as well. We don't want anything to be skimping. I'm just going to lightly brush the bottom of my pan just because I'm always paranoid that things are going to stick. This is just like a 9 by 11 baking dish. Add that stuffing in there, and then just spread it out so it makes a nice even layer. And then you're just going to put the tofu right on top. That's all you got to do. Then I saved those herbs from that veggie broth that I told you not to get rid of, and we're just going to put that on top just to make it fragrant and add some extra flavor. We're going to bake this in the oven at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, take it out. Not much is going to change, and then you're just going to brush it with the rest of the oil that's remaining. Then you're going to pop it back in the oven for 30 minutes. And that's it. You just let it do its thing in there. Now let's make our gravy. So we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of vegan butter to that same pan that I made the stuffing in. I didn't even wash it. And then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. If you're gluten-free, you can use cornstarch or an alternative flour. Mix this together until it has been absorbed, and then we're going to slowly add in the vegetable broth. This is exactly like how when we made the broccoli cheddar soup. Add it in nice and slow, so this way the gravy doesn't get clumpy. And you'll see, like, as you keep adding it, and then it comes together, and then you kind of break it apart again. And any little clumps you're seeing right now are actually just kind of little bits of leftover tofu, which I personally don't really care too much about. Season it with some black pepper, garlic powder, some fresh thyme. I mean, anything that you want to put in there. Bring it to a boil, and then remove it from the heat, and it will thicken as it cools. And if you want to add like caramelized onions or some mushrooms or whatever, you can add it in. This is a very simple gravy to make, but I like that we utilize that veggie broth that we marinated the tofu in for a little bit for another purpose. And now it is all done, and it looks like this. So the first thing I want to do, well, first of all, let's listen to that crisp. Doesn't that sound really good? Okay, so I'm going to take those herbs out, and we're going to set them to the side. They're done. They've done their job. Remove the tofu from the pan, and the tofu does leave like a little mark on top of the stuffing. So for aesthetic purposes, I just gave the stuffing another mix around. You don't have to do that if you don't care that much. It's not that big of a deal. Now you should let this tofu cool for 15 minutes. I was an eager beaver and I did not. I tried to cut into it after like a minute. I was burning my hands and the rice paper started to fall off a little bit. Let it cool, because as I let it cool, it sliced a lot easier. So have a second of patience, like I did not. And then I just kind of sliced it and arranged it on top of the stuffing, drizzled my gravy over top, and we all need some slow-mo gravy action in our life, don't we? Look at that. Add any fresh herbs that you want on top, some black pepper. I did like fresh oregano and fresh thyme and fresh rosemary, and isn't this just beautiful? Like, I think this is a really nice dish. It's really not that complicated to make. I like that you throw it in the oven and let the oven do the work so you can make other things in the meantime. And, you know, side dishes, or honestly, even if you just wanted to make like one side dish if you're doing like a smaller holiday, I think this is great. You'll get about 4 servings from this, so it's really flavorful. Do not skimp on doing the gravy, okay? Make the gravy. It takes like 4 seconds. It's so easy to do, and it adds so much flavor, and I feel like gravy just, it brings the dish together. So let's plate it up. Of course, we're going to add that stuffing. This stuffing was so good. I really loved having the pecans in there and a few pieces of our tofu, and you can add some extra black pepper on top. And this was really, really delicious. And I really liked the rice paper on the outside. That was a really cool thing. So I'm glad I tried it out like that. And yeah, and it's a little close-up action. Looks so good. All right, everyone, and that was our delicious tofu and stuffing recipe. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you try it out, leave a comment down below. Let me know how it goes. Leave a comment on the blog, on Instagram. Tag me in an Instagram post. I love to hear back from you all. If you like my videos, you already know, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Helps the channel out, helps us to grow and spread more vegan recipes. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with another video. Bye.